Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. The North Carolina Business Committee for Education and the North Carolina Virtual Public School are proud to host the North Carolina Career Connection Speaker Series. The speaker series includes presentations about career paths and jobs by those working in the field. We feel that it is never too early to start thinking about your future, and we are now providing a platform for our students to gain insight and exposure to potential career paths while still in middle or high school. And today we're really excited to have Jay Garcia with us. He is a native from the south side of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He grew up on Walltown and Sprague Street. He attended Robert B. Glenn High School. He got his associate's degree from Guilford Technical Community College, his bachelor's degree from East Carolina University, and his law degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law. On his downtime, he likes to eat tacos de asada sin cebola. Don't make fun of I took Spanish, but crack jokes with his carnales from the hood, play video games, watch anime, and spend time with his lovely daughter. So thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure being here.
And you've got some comments, a comment from Bridget that she lives on Walltown.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. Yeah, I'm from so you said Sprague, but it's Sprague. So Watown is Sprague. This is an intersection. And so all the locals and natives, at least from my time, that was when the Latino community was thriving in the 90s, like the early 90s. And they had what was called Little Mexico. Because during that time, that little block over by it's like Old Lexington Road, there's all those Mexican businesses, and that's why it was called Little Mexico. But yeah, no, I mean, we got plenty of stories there. We got plenty of time. We're all going to talk about it. Shout out to the South Side.
Awesome. So one of the things that I thought that you could speak with us about today is you really wanted to tell the students that it doesn't matter where they start, that if they've got a dream, they can definitely achieve that. And you wanted to share your journey with us.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I guess for my stories, this is what happened. My family originally came here from California. I'm actually a California native. I was born over there in Santana, but I wasn't raised there. I was raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So I claim Southside Winston. That's my hometown, born and bred. But we came over here during the early '90s, and this is where all my family and everybody just migrated to. So growing up in the south side of Winston, either you made it out the hood or you ended up not making it out the hood and falling into the perpetual cycle of gangs and drug trafficking and crime, or going to jail. But that didn't stop me. I had my past when I was out here breaking into cars, breaking into windows. We were getting into fights with guys from the other neighborhoods and things like that. But that didn't stop me. What actually convinced me to go forward in life was having a mentor. Who my mentor, he was actually the vice president of a legacy federal credit union. So in Winston, all the Winston natives know there's three big credit unions. You got a La Cooperativa Latino, you got True Line, and then you have a Legacy over there by the Red Lobster. So he was a vice president of a legacy federal credit union. He was the one that was consistently encouraging me to go forward and to make it when some of my own family members didn't believe in me. You had people in the community that were saying, oh, this kid, he's not going to make it. He's just going to drop out. He's going to end up getting somebody pregnant. He's going to end up in jail. And he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. But the main takeaway from this presentation that I want all the kids to know is that your past does not define you. Your past decisions don't define you. It's you who defines you, and you are the captain of your fate. You are the master of your soul. Master of my fate, captain of my soul. Yes, that's what it is. You are the master of your fate. You're the captain of your soul. You're the one that's going to make the decisions for you in the future, and it starts now.
I love that. I think that's so important because I think some, and I teach psychology, so we talk about, people who have this thinking where it's this global thing. So I messed up once, and so that means that my whole life is going to not work out. But I think that's really cool that you didn't let that define you. So, will you talk to us a little bit more about this mentor, how you got connected with him and what he was able to do for you, and maybe talk to the students about seeking out mentors?
Yeah, absolutely. So his name is John Williams. He actually passed away. It was March 17th. It was March 17th, 2021 at 9:39 p.m. That's when he took his last breath. I was actually right there in the hospital. I was at the Novant Hospital over there in Winston, and I was right there in the room as I saw him take his last breath. So it was really touching. But I met John at Red Lobster. And to get the backstory to that, you actually have to know I was in high school when I started working, and I had been working other under the table jobs with family members and cousins and people, either doing construction or like landscaping or something or cutting grass. So I turned 16 and I started my first job as, generally speaking, the stereotypical job for most Latino men is a dishwasher. I don't know why, but that's the stereotype. So I ended up washing dishes at this job at this place in Kernersville. It's called the Kerner House. It's not there anymore. I worked there for about two months. Then I got the job at Red Lobster because my mom used to work at Red Lobster, and I didn't have a positive male role model in my life. My mom was a single mom. It was me, my sister, my younger brother, and I. So it was only us three. It was us four in the house. She had to work two, three jobs just to provide for all of us. We lived in the hood. We lived in multiple impoverished neighborhoods, and it was bad. But needless to say, I got the job at Red Lobster through my mom's help. And John, I'll never forget, John was actually sitting by the bar. He was this older man. He had glasses, and he looked like Sherman Helmsley, right? For those that know what the who Sherman Helmsley is, go look that up, right? So this older man is over there on the corner, and then my superior busboy, that was the job that I got at Red Lobster. He was about to go to A&T, and big shout outs to A&T. Every single person that I've met that went to NC A&T has always been good. They've always shown me love. They've always their motto is each one teach one. So he was about to go to college. He was my mentor at the job and said, "Hey, look, do me a favor. You see that old man over there? Go hang out with him. John will get you right." And at that time, because I was coming up from the hood, I thought getting someone right meant he was going to give me some money. I was going to be able to buy me a car, maybe like some drugs or something. I could sell drugs. I thought I wanted to be a rapper. Like it was, these are childhood dreams, right? So no one took me serious. But upon meeting John, John got me right. And John taught me about life. John taught me to not cuss as much because I had a sailor's mouth when I was 16, 17 years old, cussing up a storm. I was trying to get into fights. But John took me under his wing and he guided me towards the right path. He's the reason why I went to prom because I wasn't making enough to pay for prom. John paid for my prom. John paid for my prom dinner. John paid for everything. All I needed to do was just go to school and hang out with him and listen to him. And so I would still get in some trouble, but I didn't want to let John know because I know if John found out, I would be extremely sad because he would be disappointed in me. But John is actually the reason why my life is the way that it is now because he never gave up on me. He saw a young brown male that needed guidance, that didn't have a positive male role model, and he took it upon himself to mentor me, to guide me, to be my father figure. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have made it to a community college because and I'll never forget this. John took the day off. It was early in the morning to drive me from my house where I was staying with my mom all the way to Guilford Tech. We got lost on the way there. We had an adventure, but he took me all the way there and stayed with me until my application was filled, until they gave it back, and until they said, "Mr. Garcia, welcome to college. You start like in 2 weeks." So he's the reason why I'm here now, but it was because he was my mentor. And I highly encourage all people, whether you're Black, Latino, white, Asian, whomever, get a mentor because your mentor is someone who's been there, done that. There's someone that can guide you. There's someone that can provide you with this information because all of us, we're not supposed to reinvent the wheel. People have already made it. Teachers have already made it. Lawyers have already made it. Doctors have already made it. And so the new generation of doctors, lawyers, or teachers, we're coming in, we're still wet behind the ears. We don't know what's going on. That's why it's imperative for us to find a superior, to find a mentor that can take us under their wing and show us the way. Because people are just like trees. Trees grow up, but they have branches that grow outwards. And if when they're young, you have to straighten them up, because if not, they're going to go the wrong way. That's why your mentor is like that brace, which look this up, all trees, you have to have some type of brace for them to grow straight up. That's why people need mentors.
Wow, I love that analogy of the tree. That's really cool. So what about community college and then from there undergraduate, what
Mhm.
about the legal field interested you?
Yeah, so for me, I've always been outspoken. I've always challenged authority. That was just something in my personality. If somebody was doing something to people that could not defend themselves or could not speak up, I was always there trying to stand up for them. For example, I was in high school one time. I was a sophomore, right? And I was what people would call a kid with a chip on his shoulder, but I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. It was just I was outspoken. And in my demographic, what another demographic is called confident, we're called cocky. What someone is called passionate, someone is called just the angry brown man syndrome or angry black man syndrome. So people thought I had a chip on my shoulder, but it wasn't that. So I saw this upperclassman. He's what in my days, I don't know if this is still politically correct, we would call a nerdy kid, but he had glasses, he was kind of skinny, and you can tell he wasn't one of the tough kids. But there was this one bigger bully looking kid came over there and like smashed his hand in his mashed potatoes, and he started laughing at him and then walked out. When I saw that, I spazzed and I ran out to the door. I didn't even know the kid, but I ran out there and I was about to fight him. Luckily for that kid, I didn't see him, he was gone. But it's just that built a reputation of Jay being outspoken. That being said, when I got to ECU, I was still doing activism. I was still protesting certain things. It was me and a group of other students, the leaders of all the other organizations on ECU's campus. We actually started a movement to rename ACOC Dormitory at ECU. And it actually went through. And if you look throughout ECU's archives, you'll see, Mr. Jay Garcia, East Carolina senior, protesting, or Mr. Jay Garcia meeting Julian Bond. There's actually, if you can Google it right now, I'm sure you'll find Jay Garcia, Julian Bond, and you'll see a picture. I'm just shaking his hand, but yeah, I've always been interested in the law, and I've always wanted to advocate for underprivileged communities, and that's why I ended up going to Central.
Wow, that's incredible. So, what kind of work do you do? You describe yourself as an urban lawyer. So, in this advocating for people who may not be able to advocate for themselves. If you'll talk to us a little bit about what you do currently in your profession.
Yeah, absolutely. So I practice family law, criminal defense, personal injury, and most importantly, juvenile law. What I mean by urban lawyer is that I'm someone that came from the streets that these kids walk on, that they can relate to them. That being said, I have that experience. Not everybody can have that sense of credibility. So, for example, and I have to switch the way that I speak to all my audiences. So, the manner in which I speak to my clients that are 50, 60, the older ones, is completely different how I speak to my clients that are 30 and 40 versus how I speak to my juveniles that are 15 to 20, because everybody's in a different mindset. So seeing that we're speaking to middle school and high school kids, I'm have to switch up the demographics. So, in rap music, you got some rappers that are about that life, and then there's other rappers that aren't about that life. Well, I have credibility because I came from that life. That's not I don't let it define me. That's not me. That's not what I do anymore. But my job, my duty is to help out those kids, those people that come from these backgrounds that may not have enough money, may not be able to advocate for themselves, that may just need effective representation. That's where Jay comes in. So in my family law practice, well, I'm actually employed. I'm an attorney with with this firm. It's called the Law Offices of Eric M. Williams. I love where I work at because Eric and I, we do the same thing. And so for our family law clients, 90% of our practice is dedicated to Spanish ESL clients. That means people that are from a foreign country, or they're like native Americans here in the United States, but mainly speak Spanish. And a lot of times people don't understand the language, the legalese that's going on with someone such and such is saying. There's been so many times where I've had clients and they're like, hey, can you explain to me what this means? I don't know what this is. And it's just like a demand letter or something for someone says, your grass is too high. Can you cut it? Or somebody might be suing somebody for custody of their children. But needless to say, they don't speak the language, so they need representation for that. Another common misconception is whenever we get ESL clients and they get a speeding ticket. So generally speaking, what people do, they'll just pay the speeding ticket and send it off, not knowing the consequences and repercussions. And so that's when we have to come in and we have to explain to our ESL clients, hey, look, these have consequences and repercussions, but we have to speak to them in a manner that they understand. That's where that comes from. That's where that credibility comes from. Same thing for my juveniles. Look, yo, this is bad. You can't be doing this, X, Y, and Z. But you have to be able to speak to them. The ability to speak to them and the ability to speak to all your audience comes from this background that you have. It allows you to be versatile and have the ability to speak to multiple audiences. That's where the whole life of an urban lawyer comes from.
That's really cool. And you've touched on a couple of things I want to ask you about. So, communication. I think this is something that at least today teens get criticized for, right? Because they're used to this texting and the social media world.
Yes.
But you're talking about the importance of communication and the importance of communicating with different groups.
Yes.
So, what advice would you have for students as they're sort of navigating this field of careers and applying to colleges when it comes to communication?
Yes. You know the old saying, I hate to be a cliche, communication is key. Well, communication is key. So you need to be able to speak to multiple people. You need to be able to network because honest hand to God, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, right? But I'm doing law. That's something completely different. And so I only wanted to be an aerospace engineer because when I was in middle school, we used to have these, they were called OWL books or whatever. And it was like a job outlook or something. I don't even know if they have them anymore, but I was just looking down, but I wasn't looking at the actual job field, what it entailed. I was looking at a dollar amount. So an aerospace engineer was bringing in like 130 something thousand dollars a year. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't care what I got to do. But I was chasing dollar bills. But looking back on it now, with what I know, I would have tried to make those connections like, okay, ask yourself, what does it take to be an aerospace engineer? Am I just chasing this because it's a dollar amount? Or am I chasing this because I'm genuinely interested in this? And the best way to find that out is to talk to people, just ask around. A lot of people are in middle school and in high school, right? At least the audience. It's nothing for them to connect with their guidance counselor or their teachers and plug them up with somebody that is in that field. Or a lot of teachers have college degrees, and alumni can easily reach back to their alma mater and say, hey, look, I'm working at a Title I school. My kids want to know more about engineering. Can we organize a field trip? And just talk to people and seriously ask them the questions that you want to ask. How long does it take to be an engineer? How much does it cost? Because cost is really, really big. It's almost the determining factor for 90% of us. Because if we have to come out of pocket and pay versus we get a scholarship, well, our decision is almost made. But that's what I would recommend to the youth. I didn't have the ability to communicate that well. That was the skill that I needed to practice on. But I wish I could go back and tell myself, talk to these different people, talk to this person, talk to your principal. You may not like your principal, just talk to your principal, talk to the guidance counselors, talk to Joe Blow who works at the mechanic shop, talk to the local lawyer. And so this is one thing I will say about lawyers. Lawyers love to talk about themselves. All you got to do, I'm so serious, I promise you. What you need to do is ask a lawyer, hey, my name is John Doe, and I'm a student at blah, blah, blah high school. I want to know more about your field. Can I invite you out to a cup of coffee? Now, obviously, the high school student is not going to pay. Lawyers refuse to let their juniors pay. So if a high school student invited me to coffee, I already, because of the practice, I already understand I'm going to buy this kid some lunch and some coffee, and we're just going to get to talk, and they're going to pick my brain. Now, it's so much more simpler than that, because nowadays we have texting and we have emails and all that. In my day, we had to call, get an appointment and all that. It's so much more simple now. Just send an email, and I promise you, you're going to get amazing results.
Yeah, and they can even set up maybe a Zoom call or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially with COVID, yeah, Zoom calls.
So I wanted to circle back. You mentioned activism,
Yeah.
and you mentioned that being a part of your college career. And you talked about getting the name changed at one of the dorms at ECU. So will you talk to us a little bit about your work in activism?
Yeah, so for me, all my activism was mainly for the advancement of minorities. Then that included LGBTQA and other, like Native Americans and other oppressed people. Because growing up in my neighborhood, it was just Black and Latino. So for me, it was always like the activism of Black and Latino young men. I got to ECU, and ECU was a great learning environment, but there's also, people talk about the good and not the bad. And with the good comes the bad. So that's something you need to acknowledge. I can't speak for other universities except North Carolina Central, because that's where I went to law school. But my experience at ECU was different because I was a minority there. So the majority of students are obviously white American males and females there. The minority is about 9,000 Black and Latino, Asian, and Pacific Islander. So amongst that group, there was a lot of tension, not in the classroom, but outside the classroom, in the outside surrounding areas. So there was one club that it only allowed white people in, and if you were a person of color, you could only get in if you were walking with a group of white people. That's not cool. That's not right. And the way that they would turn you away, they would ask, "Do you have a membership?" Like, a membership? What do you need a membership to get in for? And it's like, "Oh, you ain't got a membership. You got to come back on Monday in the afternoon around 3 o'clock. That's when we do the memberships." So to us, it's like, well, all of us are in class on Mondays at 3 o'clock. Whatever, we can't get in. But then there's a group behind me, 5 white guys. They're all in a fraternity. One Black dude. "Oh, hey, come on in." No, they didn't get asked for IDs. They didn't get asked for memberships. They didn't get asked for anything. Then we start making a fuss about it. Like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't have a membership. You don't have a membership. You can't come in." That's the way things would just get shut down. And in those times, this was before social media was popping like how it is now. Now, all it takes is a hashtag, a couple of retweets, and an influencer to push a hashtag, and it's going to get spinning. In those days, we didn't have that, because we had people that were big on Instagram and Twitter, but it wasn't like a social media influencer like how we have nowadays. So we had an app. The young kids aren't going to remember this, but it was called Yik Yak. Yik Yak was an anonymous app where you could post like random status updates. So there was no login. It was just type in your zip code and type in a nickname or something, and or like your gender, and then you can post a lot of stuff. Well, people got really bold behind Yik Yak because no identity was shown and it was anonymous posting. So a lot of racial slurs were thrown left and right. The one that sparked the movement was the one where they were coming down on an organization called Black Student Union. So we're at a PWI, and these are minority organizations. So they came down and they said, "Why is there a Black student union? If there was a white student union, they would think that we're racist." And that just caused a scene, and it just kept on getting reposted and posted. And that's what sparked the outbreak. And eventually, I called a meeting with all the other leaders for the minority organizations to meet in the at ECU's political science library. And I said, "Look, something needs to be done." I called the president of BSU, because BSU, it's the Black Student Organization, and it's just people of color embracing each other and helping each other uplift. right? That's what it is. You didn't have to be black to join. There was white people in BSU. There was Latinos in BSU, Asians. It was all inclusive. It was just an uplifting organization that founded itself in scholarship and uplift and community service. That was it. It was nothing specific. No black power, no white power. No, it was just uplift and empowering yourself as a minority. That was it. Well, we called this meeting. All the organizations met, and we decided, look, well, we need to do something, because if not, we're tired of getting called outside of our names. I got called so many racial slurs. Everybody in that room got called so many racial slurs, and we just started to change. We started protesting. We started picketing the the board of directors. Whenever the board of trustees, they would have meetings, and the board of directors would have meetings, and we'd be in there protesting, and we were being loud. They tell us like not to go into the meeting, but we're like, well, I like when people are passionate about something, they will read the fine print. And so we had a bunch of lawyers, what I'm going to call them, reading the fine print. They were like, well, Article 2, Section 7, says we can attend these private meetings. And they were like, well. And there's always like 2 or 3 people that are secret allies, is what I'll call them. And they're like, well, they're right. It does say that in Section 7B, whatever. So they would let us in. And then we started attending all of the SGA meetings. And so SGA has like the student senate and everything. Once we started attending, we started realizing that these are senators that are supposed to make the bylaws and laws of the school, but they weren't reflective of the demographic, because they were like 90 something percent of them were Caucasian Americans. They weren't people of color. And if they were these people of color that were in these IFC and NFC, PHC fraternities and sororities, which are historically known for being Caucasian. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but you can't be reflective of an entire demographic of people if everybody looks a certain way. So that being said, people from different demographic backgrounds and different ethnic backgrounds we face different issues, so that was the biggest thing that we were trying to get across, the point of effective representation for everybody across the board. Because one of the things that was being brought up, why is it that only a certain demographic is being allowed to this club and everybody's okay with it, but not this demographic? It was just things like that. So we ended up protesting, and maybe if I find some of the pictures where I was protesting, I'll send them to you. You can send them out to via mass email. But yeah, no, we were out there protesting in the cold. We got some of the board of directors, board of trustees were out there, and they ended up changing the name. Now it's called Ballard Hall. Ballard was Chancellor Steve Ballard, who was actually the chancellor at the time, and he was with the movement, but he couldn't be as vocal as he wanted to be, because the powers that be are above him. Mm-hmm. And even above them, it's the board of governors. Mm-hmm. So the board of governors is like the end all be all. They call the shots. They appoint the board of trustees, and the board of trustees appoint the chancellor. So it's like, it's all political and bureaucratic. But we were at the point where we're like, we don't care about none of that. Somebody has to take the fall. We're protesting. We're students, and we have a voice, because our tuition dollars are paying you. If you work for us, essentially, like, we are your boss, and you need to do what we say. And it wasn't until that year, once people started, they were starting to make sense. Like, they have to work for us. If we don't feel safe, if we don't feel protected, you need to do certain things. For example, I'll say this, and you can ask me the next question. I was going home from studying in the library one time. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. I had an exam later on that week. As I'm walking home, I have to cut through the sorority and fraternity houses, and I got clients calling me right now as clients, busy day. But I was walking past the fraternity sorority houses, and I see 2 guys stumbling towards me. They were obviously drunk. They were yelling obscenities, and they were like, "Hey, N-word, N-word, come here, N-word, come here." And I'm panicking, because, like, what do I do? Do I run? Or do I sit here and fight? It's 2 of them, 1 of me. I might get jumped. They might call the police. They might try to say I started something with them. I only had a pen in my hand. And I said, okay, you know what? It's either sink or swim. So I dropped my book bag. I was about to fight with these guys. They're like, well, sorry, we're drunk, we're drunk. But, and that didn't explain the reason why you're yelling racial slurs to somebody. They ended up walking into their house. And the fraternity house that they walked into it's called Kappa Alpha, the Kappa Alpha Order. So that's significant because the Kappa Alpha Order is known for being this like racist, stereotypical old good old white boy network where they don't allow people of color and they're secret closet racist. I didn't know that until I started asking around, and there's other people that started having the same experiences with Kappa Alpha. So stuff like that is what empowered everybody. And after enough, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was that post from Yik Yak. That's what caused all the activism.
Wow, that's incredible. Um, that it went to that point and y'all organized and went to the board of trustees and figured out their schedule and figured out their bylaws and got in there and it got that changed. That's exciting and inspiring to hear that. So I know that your career includes activism because you are trying to represent people who um, historically have been misrepresented and still are, and don't speak the language. Do you have time for activism aside from, I know you have a daughter and you have work?
Yeah. So activism is done in so many ways. So, for example, the civil rights movement, it wasn't just Martin Luther King by himself. It was a slew of people. It was the sit-ins. It was the peaceful protests. It was the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X through their movements. You know, the by any means necessary. It's being attacked. It's attacking the oppressor and making sure that everybody is moving forward on multiple fronts. For example, World War II, World War I, it wasn't just fought in one location. It was fought in multiple locations. You have to keep on fighting to defeat the enemy, the oppressor, the person that's against you. That's the same way we do this. What I mean to say by that is that activism isn't just protesting at the state legislature. Activism is also helping out the community whenever they come to you and they're saying, my landlord is kicking me out. I don't know why. I can't read English or Spanish. I came over here when I was 7 years old, and all I've done all my life is work, but this is the paper that they sent me, and you're looking at it, and it's just like, this is BS. Like this makes no sense. But people, because they don't know the language, they don't know the law, they're, they're getting taken advantage of. You advocate for people like that, and eventually you do so much advocacy against a person, and you find out that this John Doe has actually been doing that to multiple people. So then you bring a lawsuit against John Doe, and that sets it out, like, and you bring the media involved and start letting know John Doe is doing this to only a specific group of people. Let's say that there's DAs that are being extremely strict on a certain demographic of people. There's officers that are only giving Latin American people tickets on Fridays for speeding or something, but they're like, it's really galvanized. The activism and advocacy comes from that, from representing these people, from sticking it to the man, is how people would call it, from raising awareness, and as how Stacey Abrams would say, you got to rattle that cage sometimes. That's what activism is about, socking it to them and rattling the cage. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I feel a little nervous or I feel uncomfortable with certain things because I think, man, this could have some potential blowback on me, or they might they might try to take consequences and they might try to take actions or retribution against me because I'm representing these clients. But that is the duty that you as a lawyer take. You take that responsibility once you take that oath to represent people that need an advocate. You take on that responsibility. So when we walk into this office, we know that if we have to rattle the cage, we're going to face the consequences and repercussion later. But as long as we rattle the cage enough so that our people that are being oppressed, or that the people that need representation, they get a fair day in court, or they get the charges dismissed, or they get a fair sentence.
Wow. So I was reading some about people who, like you said, their grass is too long or they get a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
And how much in North Carolina does it happen where if they can't pay whatever they've been fined with, then they're put in jail and then the debt accrues? Is that something that happens in North Carolina that you see that, it's almost as if it's a crime that they can't pay that fine?
Yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. So that happens in sometimes I would think that it happens in certain counties. Now, for people to understand, so North Carolina is under the North Carolina justice system, right? But every county is autonomous from every single county. So different counties have local rules, different counties have different practices. Generally speaking, let's say someone gets a speeding ticket and they get it resolved, but they just don't pay the fine. The general consensus is that they're not going to throw you in jail for fines anymore, like how they used to. Now,
Okay.
there might be some other counties where if you don't pay a fine, eventually you get an order for your arrest, and then that essentially invokes what you're talking about with that I can't pay my fees. It's $250. Now I have an order for my arrest. Now I got to get a bondsman. Now I got to get a lawyer. Now I got to go back to court, all because I couldn't pay $250. But uh, um, they have organizations that help out with charges and fees like that. For example, a shameless plug, but there's an organization here in Durham where I practice. It's called Durham Expunction and Restoration Program. And so their main focus is helping out with driver license restorations and expunctions. But they can also help with these citations that people owe like a couple $100s on. They could try to help you trying to waive the fees. Now I don't know exactly how they do that or what they do, but I do know that they can help with that because I've partnered up with them for expunction clinics. And we have programs where we just recommend people to go there. So attorneys charge you for expunctions, or you could go see the local deer office and see if they can help you out with that. But yes, no, that used to be a thing, sending people to jail because they couldn't pay their fees. That's just a way to keep the people oppressed.
Right. Um, well, to bring things down a little bit, what do you do for work-life balance? It sounds like you're always, you've got clients calling you right now. It's been a busy day. You've got a daughter. I mean, you did talk about hanging out with your friends and enjoying good food, but how do you make sure you do have that time and
Yeah, so
do what's important?
definitely, that's a good question. With any profession, whether you're a doctor, a teacher, daycare worker, any type of profession, you have to have a work-life balance because the moment that you start letting your career, your profession, your job consume you, you're gonna think, breathe, sleep, and breathe. Yeah, all you're gonna think about is your job, and that's not good. That's not healthy, especially with we're just coming out of a pandemic where a lot of people's mental health is seriously affected. You got to be able to do certain things for yourself. And sometimes you might have to just tell your boss or your partner or whomever you work with, hey, look, you know what? I'm taking a mental health day. I gotta leave today, or I gotta leave early or something. I'm fortunate enough that the attorney that I work with, he's extremely understanding. We have the same beliefs, and there's often times where he's told me, hey, look, you know what? Just take the day off. Like there's a lot going on. Like I can see it. Just go home. And sometimes like he'll like, you know what? Hey man, there's a lot going on right now. I gotta go home. Like, hey man, look, it's okay. I'll hold down the fort. I will hold it down. You do what you need to do. Get yourself right. And that's the main thing. I don't think that people take mental health as a big issue as it needs to be, because if you're not right mentally, if you're not right emotionally, you can't adequately do your job. You can't have a doctor operating on a patient doing open heart surgery and their mother just died, or their God forbid one of their youngest children died. They're not thinking right. So, it might be in good intentions to do this open heart surgery, but some serious consequences could happen. That's why it's imperative for people to take work-life balances. For me, the question was, how do I balance it? Well, I'm fortunate enough to have the flexibility that I can either take my work home, or if I don't have anything going on for the day, I can just go home or do some administrative stuff at the house, maybe answer some phone calls or something. And I like playing video games, right? I like Final Fantasy VII. I like Call of Duty Warzone. I have the headset, and I'm just like, I might have a suit on right now, but when I play my video games, I'm a completely different person. So I like eating tacos de asada sin cebolla. That's, it means without onions. I love eating tacos. I love hanging out with my friends. We love talking smack to each other. And it's just, you got to be able to balance it out, because we do a lot here in this office. And sometimes it's really demanding on your mental health, especially whenever you have to represent clients whose families are being separated. You have people getting a divorce. You have people fighting over custody. You have children being abused and neglected. You have juveniles getting sent to youth homes and group homes and going to jail. So it can be taxing, but you have to be able to leave work at the office, and when you go home, you are Jay Garcia. Because when I'm here, I'm Attorney Garcia, but when I go home, I'm just Jay. I'm just Jay that has two Yorkies that likes to play video games, and that's what we have to do. Honestly, we
Yeah,
just have to do that.
yeah. Yeah, because I was thinking, a lot of before you even said it, a lot of what you deal with is very heavy emotionally, and
Absolutely.
how to sort of turn that off. So I wonder if you'll talk a little bit about the demands of law school. I mean,
Oh.
I've heard horror stories, before the digital age, people going in the library and ripping out pages so that other people couldn't do the assignment.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. So for starters, that is like that's like a truth and a lie, right? So we got told that some schools, so I went to an HBCU law school, North Carolina Central University School of Law, where our motto is truth and service, and our like de facto motto is we make trial attorneys. We make you practice ready on the first day. So our thing was, like other schools, there's people that they tear out pages from books and assignments so that you don't get the right stuff. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know, because we went to Central. We didn't do that at Central. We didn't do that. People were a little bit more picky with like study groups and study guides and outlines to study. And so what would happen is you would have your everybody was like really clicky, just like in high school, you have your cliques. You got the popular people over here, you got the not so popular people over here, the stoners over there. At least when I was in high school, that's how it was broken off. Well, in law school, you got like the really uppity kids over here. You got all the baseball NASCAR fans over here. You have all the like the A students over here studying. They're only, they're really clicky. And then you have the people that really don't care about groups, that really don't care about cliques. They're just regular, hey, I come to school and I'm just gonna here to have a good time and learn the law. That had the biggest group, because I was a part of a group, I was a part of a subgroup within that bigger group, you know? So for me, I had, it was like 4 or 5 people in my group. And we would just share notes, we'd share outlines. If somebody didn't understand what the professor was talking about, everybody else filled that person in. Luckily for us, because there was about 4 or 5 people in the group, somebody had a subject that they would specialize in. Like for some reason, I understood civil procedure. That was just my thing. Other people understood contracts better. Somebody understood torts. Somebody else understood property. But for me, it was Civ Pro because it was mechanical. It was like a video game, and I can maneuver a video game. I can't maneuver a contract. And we would just go around teaching each other like what this means, what that means. But it was extremely demanding on your mental health. It was extremely demanding on your emotional health, because you would go into school at 8 o'clock. You would need to be in your seat at 8 o'clock, and that's when class would start. And you'd be in the group until like 5 or 6 o'clock. So the thing about law school is that they follow the European / Latin American / Asian concept to teaching, where the class doesn't switch, only the teacher. So we would be in the same room with the same group of people, and for property, the teacher would come in and then she would leave, and then like an hour later, the next professor would come in and they would teach us. But we would stay in our same seats, our same classroom. We would take our same lunches all at the same time. And looking back now, that I actually prefer that method of learning versus the traditional American way where, students go to different classes and, I have A day or it's B day or have home ec or something, because we got to know each other better and we knew who were the class clowns and we knew who to ask for information, and everybody just kind of had their own role and we functioned really well. And to this day, I'm really close with some of my section mates. And after I graduated, I started reading more books. I read a book. It's called What They Don't Teach You in Harvard Business School and What They Teach You at Harvard Business, two different books. So I read there that they have the same model. Like they have the same model at Harvard Business School. So that means it's got to be worth something.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it was really demanding. I had a couple of mental breakdowns. I cried in my car so many times. Some of my friends got divorced. Some of my friends' families got separated because there was a professor. He taught a civil procedure, and and yeah, and his name is Professor David Green. And David Green had this saying where he said, "Law school is a jealous mistress, and she will get her time."
Mm.
We didn't understand what that meant, but later on, as you're going through law school, you start to see that law school, it's so intensive that you need to focus everything on law school. You start tuning out friends and family, significant others, and sometimes even your children, and all you do is focus on law school. I the people that I commend the most are the moms and single parents that went to law school, because they had to balance classes, lectures, tests, quizzes, practices. They had to go home. They still need to be a parent. They needed to tuck in their children. They needed to pick them up from school. It's a lot. It's a lot. That's why some of my classmates actually were in the night school program where they would work during the day. They would take care of their children, work during the day, pick them up, make sure they were at home. Then they'd go to law school. Then they'd go back home, make sure their kids were tucked in. They would go to sleep and do it all over again for 4 days out the week. I don't see how they did that. I don't think that I have the mental fortitude nor the discipline to do that every single day for 4 years. But some people just have it. And this is what law school is testing. But it does that because it prepares you for the real world. Because out here in the real world, and I'm sure as a teacher, there's like 10,000 things going on, but the show still has to keep going.
Mhm.
You have rent, you have bills, you got car loans that you need to pay, but you have your lesson plan and you got your students and you still need to do your job. But there's like 10,000 things going on. That's what law school prepares you for. Because, obviously these people are going to be lawyers. So here you're going to have deadlines. You got clients. I got clients right now that are calling me, they're just, so there's like 10,000 things going on, but it prepares you for that.
Wow. So, what would you say to students when they hit that place where they're crying in their car? I mean, how did you how did you keep going?
Yeah. So they told us the very first day, and sometimes they're like, you got to be honest with people, and people don't like hearing the cold hard truth. And I'm not, no shade to the younger generation, because the young, Generation Z and Generation C, whatever they call them, they're not built like millennials. you know they're not built like that. So they told us, and they were blunt the very first day, some of y'all are gonna fail. And we're like, ha, 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 ha. Okay, where's the punchline? Like, no, some of y'all are gonna fail. Some of y'all are gonna withdraw. Some of y'all are gonna make it. But this room, this size, your incoming class, it's not gonna be this big at graduation. We're like, damn, that's kind of cold. Like, how could you say that to people? But it was like they're not gonna sugarcoat it, because judges don't sugarcoat anything. Your bosses don't sugarcoat anything. Like, you're out here in the real world, and they just, from day one, they start preparing you, and it's just this mindset where, like, don't waste my time and I'm not going to waste yours. Like, give it to me straight, no chaser is the saying. And yeah, the first day they told us some of y'all are gonna fail, some of y'all are gonna make it, some of y'all are gonna withdraw. But in order for you to make it, you have to seriously reflect on why you're here. What's your one thing? What is it that is the reason why you wake up in the morning, that holds you together? What is your burning desire essentially? Is it you want to be an amazing attorney for your children? Is it you want to be the first attorney in your family? Is it that you want to leave a lasting legacy? Do you just want to chase big bucks? Like whatever it is, there's no right answer, right? But whatever it is, you got to hold it true in your heart, because that's what's gonna lead you to the other side. Because there's going to be days when you're going to be tested. There's going to be days when you're going to have mental breakdowns. I was crying in my car, and that one night I remember, we had an exam like Friday, then we had a paper due on Wednesday. It was a Monday. It was Monday night, and I was like panicking, and I wasn't getting help. And so I called my mom, she didn't pick up. I called my sister, she didn't pick up. And after that, I just lost it. And I'm just crying and crying and crying. And, if you believe in God, then you got to pray to God. If you believe in the energy, the powers that may be, crystals, whatever it is that you believe in, hold on to that belief, because it's going to get you through law school. And for me, it was holding it down for my family, because nobody in my family has ever went to law school. I'm the first lawyer in my close family, in my extended family, in like all of my generations, ancestors, uncles. I'm the first attorney, right? So being that I'm the first attorney, that meant that I'm the first male that graduated high school, that went to community college, that went to college, and that went to law school. So I'm carrying the title, and to me, it was I gotta hold it down so that my younger generations, my younger family members can look at me and say, if Jay can do it, then I can too, and he's gonna be the example. And that's I had to hold on to that. I really had, and if I said it was because I wanted to advocate for the community and I wanted to become a good attorney, I'd be lying. But that my truth, what I held dear, was holding it down for my family and being that guiding light. That's what held me down. And that's what you're gonna need to, not that specifically, but
Sure.
you're gonna need to have your burning desire if you want to make it through law school. And I might even go out on a branch and say, you need to have that burning desire if you want to do anything in life. Like you want to be a teacher, you want to be a doctor, a dentist. You need to have that burning desire, because some of these days, students are going to test you, clients are going to test you, patients. People are going to test you, and you got to have that burning desire.
Yeah, wow, that's really, really cool. So I'm just imagining the younger family members and how they view you and what they're aspiring to be.
Oh yeah, they're always talking. They're always talking about me. All my aunts and uncles are like, "You need to be like Jay. Jay's a lawyer." And it really gets to the point sometimes where my cousins are like, "Oh, why do
Thanks a
we have
lot.
to do this? I don't want to hear this. I want to be an influencer. I want to do TikTok dances." You know? But it's all in good fun. But they understand.
Sure. So I'm dying to ask you though. You mentioned before we started about something that happened in high school at the Career Center. Will you share?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was working at Red Lobster, right? And I'm finally getting some money coming in. And generations, nowadays, their parents buy them iPhones and they're like, ta-da, right? But in my day, we had flip phones, right? This was this Boost Mobile flip phone. And these kids nowadays, they don't know, but this thing, it had what was called chirp. So you press a little button on the side and you can do like a walkie-talkie, and it was so cool. So I'm thinking I'm the man because I got a phone. I bought it myself. I'm on the Cricket plan, and it's just I'm the man, right? So I take my phone, and there was this administrator. Her name was, I think, Miss Fox. I don't know if she's still at the Career Center, but she was one of like the assistant principals or something. And they had told us on the first day coming into the Career Center, hey, you know, if you're using your phone during your classes, your teachers are going to take them, or something like that. So I'm like, whatever, they ain't talking to me. I got my phone, I paid for it. So I'm in the middle of class, and I was taking auto body tech. So I can't remember his name, but he was a tall Caucasian man. I forgot his name, but he taught auto body tech. It was him and Mr. Wooten. Those are the two
Okay.
people there, right?
Mr. Wooten's still there, yeah.
He's still there.
He's still there.
Oh my God. I gotta stop by Mr. Wooten. He's so hilarious. He's the one
He
that told us
is.
to joke about the Canuter valve. Yeah, the Canuter valve, it's not a real thing. It's just like a slang terminology that people that mechanics use whenever they want to charge you some more. Oh, your Canuter valve messed up. We got to change it. You know. But so I was using my phone in my teacher's class, and he was like, "Damn it, Garcia, give me your phone." And I'm like, but. So he took my phone and he gave it to Miss Fox. And so now I'm angry, I'm upset, and I'm really feeling some type of way. And my mom is like, "Where's your phone at?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." She's like, "What happened to it?" "I don't know. I don't, you know, 'cause I didn't want to just come out and say, hey, they took my phone because I was being stupid. So she knows that I go to Career Center, and she knows that she's not even worried about high school anymore because they don't even tell me anything anymore. Like I was about to graduate. So she's like, if they took your phone at the Career Center, just tell me. I'll take a day off of work and I'll get your stupid phone. And I'm like, you ain't got to take no work off of me. I'll get my own phone back. You know, I'm thinking I'm big boss or whatever. So then I'm like, what is the only way that I could get my phone back? And I'm like, I would have to withdraw, right? And so I'm so dumb because I came up with this big elaborate plan that if I withdraw from the Career Center, I go back to high school, they'll give me my phone back, I'm gonna have easier classes, and it's gonna be a breeze, a cakewalk. All this for a phone that my mom could have just picked up, right? But I wasn't thinking right at the time. So I go to Miss Fox and I tell her, hey, I'm not smart enough to be at the Career Center. I want to transfer back, blah, 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 blah. So she signs out the paperwork, everything. She's like, I don't think you should be doing this. If this is about your phone, I mean, I'm sure I could just give it back. And I was like, no, 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 because big boss ain't gonna take no for an answer. He thinks he knows everything. So she ends up disagreeing with me, but signs the paper. I get my phone back, and now I'm back at Glenn. And people are like, how dumb are you to fail out of the Career Center and go back to high school? I never told anybody the truth, but it was because I wanted that stupid little flip phone that I ended up breaking like a month later. But yeah, that's what happened with the Career Center. Yeah,
Well, thanks for sharing. So
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
know that you are busy and you've got clients and that, so I don't want to keep you longer than the agreed upon hour, but I'm wondering if any of the students have questions.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Look, these clients, they can wait. They will be okay. Like this is more important. This is why I do this, to talk to the kids, talk to the youth. Like if I could, I would dedicate my entire day to just talking to the kids. So yeah, ask away. It can be anything from like specific questions to my current practice now. Like nothing's off the table. So go ahead and ask.
All right, so y'all can put your question in the chat, or if you want to unmute your mics. All right, we got. And then Jordan said that he had to leave to pick up his mother. And so Bridget is saying she just needs a mentor. So I think she's looking for some advice in that field. You see her little
Uh,
face that she made?
it says, I live on Watttown. I like Mr. Garcia. That's all I see. I don't see a question or.
Oh, okay. So then she said, I just need a mentor.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah. So I mean, is she asking if I would like to be her mentor, or is she saying she needs a mentor in general?
Bridget, are you,
Yes, or which one?
you said yes. So is that you would like for him to be your mentor, or that you need some advice in getting a mentor?
Oh
Mr.
yeah,
Garcia.
yeah. Okay, yeah. He's cool. Ah, okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I can. I'll actually put my information in here. I'll give everybody my email so everybody can contact me. Um, yeah. So actually, my sister actually still lives in Winston. She has her name is Jennifer Castillo, and she has the Jennifer Castillo Foundation, and she has it's her own resource organization, provides resources for people and things of that nature. She also works as in like client counseling for this one company. I think it's called ESR. It's like downtown or something. but yeah, she's in Winston. She's active in that community. She's also willing to help people out and advocate for them and get them on the right path. We're all about mentoring over here, like in guiding you on the right path and telling you, how you need to do this professional stuff because we didn't make it on our own and we would love to just give back to the community and, each one teach one and grab them by the hand and pull them up.
That's cool. Okay, so Bridget, you've got his contact information there, and then Camille wants to ask a question also.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Camille Tomaszewicz. I just wanted to ask, do you know anything about LinkedIn?
Yeah. I don't have LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering if it's a good idea to probably start getting a LinkedIn maybe sometime soon, just for job purposes, because I'm going to college soon. I'll be in like August. I was wondering if it's probably better for me to get LinkedIn earlier, like prior to college, so that I can get more just like connections, or should I wait?
Yeah, I got you. So I'm gonna give a disclaimer. I've never had a LinkedIn. I never wanted to have a LinkedIn. Um, I felt like it was like a professional Facebook, but Facebook is getting to the point where like everybody knows everybody. If I had to choose a time to put a LinkedIn, I would say wait until you're closer to like your junior year of college because your freshman year of college, I'm gonna keep it real with you, bro. you're not gonna be on that. You're gonna be meeting a bunch of friends. Y'all gonna be going out, hanging out, partying, eating pizza at 3 a.m, talking about the stars and philosophy and life and developing. You're gonna be finding who you are internally. Not saying you don't know who you are right now, but the you that you are right now is not going to be the you a year from now or 2 years from now after you've taken sociology, after you've taken a biology course, after you've taken a political science course. Like what are you trying to major in right now in college, or what school are you going to? Let's start with that.
Currently, I have like this weird deal with my family for colleges, but right now I'm looking at data science at Baylor University.
The what now?
Data science at Baylor University.
Baylor. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah. So Baylor's an amazing school. So, but I'll be honest with you. A lot of people change their majors when they go in. They take some of the courses and they realize like this isn't really for me. I originally started off as an accounting major, then I changed it to history, then I changed it to criminal justice, and then I was a double major of criminal justice and political science. I'm not saying that that might happen to you, but what I would recommend to everybody is that it's if you're not there on a scholarship, it's easier financially if you knock out your first 2 years in community college because essentially those credits are transferable and they teach you the same exact stuff. So would you rather pay the $24,000 at the big university and have the big college experience, or would you rather pay the $2,000 $3,000 for the first 2 years, knock out all your basic classes so that whenever you do transfer, all you do is focus on your main courses that you need to focus on. By the grace of God, I didn't know that, but I actually just went to community college because I didn't have the grades to get into a 4-year university. In hindsight, I found that out and I'm like, oh my God, everybody should be doing this. This is just so much more amazing. So if you're not competitive enough to get in, if your GPA is low, if you want to save some money, I really recommend starting off at community college and then transferring over there. But as it relates to the LinkedIn, I would recommend getting a LinkedIn like your junior year or your senior year once you're doing internships, once you're networking, once you're talking to all these people, because now there's a profile on this person and you can list all your accomplishments on there, because you don't want to have a LinkedIn and then like, you're just a freshman and you're partying with your friends and then like you accidentally post the wrong thing or something like that. Like, plus most college students aren't as disciplined their freshman and sophomore years until their junior or senior years. And that's nothing wrong. It's just the reality of us as humans. Like once we're around friends, we just want to have fun and laugh and play video games. So you're going to have a bright future ahead of you. Like you are. Don't start planning for all the technical business stuff like that right now. Enjoy yourself, have fun in college, enjoy the ride, because as soon as it comes, it leaves. Just, just take the steps eventually, but you'll get there. And it's good that you're thinking about the LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Let's see. I got into UNCG and will be majoring in sociology, criminology. Look, I actually need to put you in contact with my sister. I'll do that right now because she actually went to UNCG as well. She got her a degree in the same thing, sociology and criminology. So she'll be a good resource for you. Let me give me a second. And just tell her I sent you.
Very cool. And anybody else have any questions while he's putting that in the chat there for Bridget?
So my question to Bridget, what is it that you want to do with that degree?
So as a job, I would like to find my way to a criminal investigator, then work my way up to like the top level, which is FBI and the BAU.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome. You know what's crazy? When I was in community college, I wanted to be a U.S. Marshal. That's why I got the criminal justice degree. But at that time, the requirements were different, and it was requiring that both of your parents be residents or legal citizens, and I didn't fit that category, so I had to end up changing it up. But yeah, I applaud you for that. FBI is big.
Very cool. Yeah, we got another thing coming from the chat.
Awesome.
Oh, she just said thank you.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really inspiring and enlightening and just a lot of fun talking with you today. I appreciate your time.
I know. I appreciate you. If I could just have, a couple of like last remarks.
Absolutely.
The things that I want the youth that I wish I knew when I was in your position. First, enjoy life. Enjoy your youth. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up, but it's okay. The point is that you learn from those mistakes and you go forward. One of my favorite sayings is that people should not look at life as making mistakes. They should look at it as learning a lesson that they're not going to make in the future. That's how you should look at quote unquote mistakes. Lesson number 2, I wish that somebody would have told me that I don't need to be a criminal justice or political science major to go to law school. The bare minimum requirements are a 4-year degree, an LSAT score, and like a resume and cover letter. That's it. That's all you need. Because my classmates in law school were business majors, STEM majors, liberal arts majors. Like there was a diversity. The 2 or 3 or 4 fields that did help in the long run for law students were business, finance, accounting, or like one of the sciences. The reason why the first 3 are helpful is because in the real practice, once you're out here as a lawyer, you're going to have that business background and you're going to be able to market yourself. You're going to be able to handle all the business and money's coming in and out and come up with strategies. The reason why the 4th one is important is because there's a field of law that's called intellectual property. And intellectual property attorneys come out making $250,000, $300,000, right? But the only way that you can get or sit for that job or that patent bar, the bar is the test that you have to take to be a lawyer. So not only do you have to sit for your state bar, you have to sit for the patent bar. And one of the requirements for the patent bar is that you have a degree in STEM, engineering and science, something like that. So if law school and intellectual property and chasing the dollars is the end game, then my advice would be get like an engineering degree or get something like that. That way, later on, if you do go to law school and you want to do intellectual property, it's easier for you and you won't have to go back to school to get a master's because it's easier to get an undergrad degree than it is to get a master's. That's something I wish I would have learned. Third, I wish somebody would have told me that life is what you make it and your past doesn't define you, right? So I grew up getting into gang fights, smoking weed, fighting, getting locked up, running from the police, all the stuff that people like brag about or that they write about in rap songs and stuff like that. Yeah, that was me and the boys. We would get shot at. Somebody did a drive-by on us one time and we were ducking and nobody got hit, but there was broken windows and car has had bullet holes. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. This is serious. But that doesn't define who I am now. If I were to tell you I came from a privileged home and where, my parents taught me proper grammar and I speak with very fluent like this, you would believe it because I have a suit on and I don't carry myself. I don't let my past define me. I don't let being a child from poverty define me. I don't let my mom being a single mother and working 3 jobs define me. I let my ethics and my morals and that fortitude inside define me. Because we make our own futures. We make our own decisions that are going to guide us in the future. I still make mistakes, still make errors, but I learn from them. I'm not perfect. There's times that I don't use the right words. There's times I still get angry. There's times I mess up. But the point is to learn. But one thing I can say is that the past me, that when I was 14, 15 years old, breaking into houses and things like that, that's not who I am now. Growing up, walking on the south side of Watttown and Sprague, that's not me who I am now. I still got tattoos and everything. I still got, well, we call it a placa, right? That's when you get like your hood tatted on there. I still got half of my placa on my hand. I don't let it define me, but whenever I start thinking like, man, what's the point? I look at my placa and I look at my tattoos and like, no, you are here for a reason. Your past didn't define you. Now it's your time to help the youth and help remind them that they are not a product of how they grew up. Any issues that you have had in the past, anything like that, it means nothing to the person who you are going to be, except for giving you the motivation to go forward. Your past doesn't define you. You define you, and you define what your future is. That's the last takeaway.
Thank you so much. That's so important for all of them to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And hope to see you around maybe Winston-Salem when you're visiting family. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
We might run into each other at the mall or something.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for having me, everybody. Good luck to everybody in the future endeavors. And, just hold it down. It's been a hell of a year. And, we got to keep on pushing forward.
Yes, I think we're finally coming out of some of it, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, y'all have a great day. Have an amazing weekend. And hold it down.
You do the same. Thanks so much for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great one.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
And you're getting lots of thank yous in the
Oh,
chat.
yeah. Okay. All right. Y'all have an amazing day. Bye.
You too. Bye. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Have a great weekend.